statistically, we should not have been as successful as we were. My bank account was red.
Oh, I'm
Like
sure.
I was negative before all of the funds came in from Kickstarter. I was hoping to hit the 300,000, of course, but I didn't think that it was going to happen. Day one, much less in the first 24 minutes.
Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we unpack the messy, beautiful intersection of creativity and business with the artists, marketers, and founders shaping our culture. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Michael Prince, industrial designer and founder of Beyond Design, Tom Briggs, mercenary CEO, CMO with over 20 years of brand strategy experience across Fortune 50 companies and startups, and Fred Seibert, legendary producer of Adventure Time, The Fairly Odd Parents, and champion of original IP and creator-first storytelling. I'm forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and we're always open to more sponsors that align with our creativity. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a creative studio that produces entertainment quality animation and illustration for brands that want to stand out in gaming, entertainment, and pop culture. We help companies tell stories that resonate with imaginative audiences and turn viewers into fandom. Whether your brand needs creative strategy, an exciting trailer, a fully animated series, or some engaging motion graphics, we got you covered. Visit epicmade.net and let's collaborate on your next creative campaign. Sorry, we changed the URL recently. All right. Anyway, so with us today, we have Jonathan Domanus. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Carl. Thanks for having me.
Super pumped to have you. So Jonathan is the founder of CardMill, an automated trading card scanner and sorter built to revolutionize how players and collectors organize and catalog their collections. A lifelong Magic the Gathering player and TCG fan, tabletop card games, for those of you that don't know what that is, like Magic the Gathering. Jonathan is also a technology entrepreneur who built CardMill to eliminate the hours of tedious sorting and cataloging every collector knows all too well. He's now on a mission to bring powerful, accessible automation to the trading card industry, all while bootstrapping the company without any VC funding, which is a feat all in itself. He's also co-founded HordeMagic.com, a community project dedicated to reigniting interest in the Horde format of Magic the Gathering. Today, we're diving into building physical products as a creator, the realities of Kickstarter, and what it takes to turn a hobby into a hardware startup. Let's go. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So first question, I don't even know what the Horde Magic is. I like, so I've played, I guess I'm Magic the Gathering light, and at this phase I do like the family game night stuff. I don't even have like a robust collection anymore, but I still love the game.
Yeah, well, so Horde Magic is actually is a ton of fun. So me and my buddies put together this website to really sort of showcase our passion around the format. And the idea of it is it's a collaborative format where all the players or like there's a group of opponents that all play against a common enemy, which in this case is a horde.
Oh,
The rules of a horde deck have sort of evolved over time, but we've sort of landed on, it's like a 300 card deck, and take like a zombies for instance, and the idea is that the zombies keep coming out and they keep playing from the horde's library, really to create a horde of zombies, or vampires or goblins, whatever you want to play, right?
sure.
Um, but it's super fun, and it can get super challenging, throwing some big beefy creatures in there. And it's really just one of those formats that collectively, as like a three or four people, we can just play against it and really just have a good time with it. So
That
we're not battling each other, we're just battling the against the horde.
That sounds amazing, actually, because for those of you that haven't played Magic the Gathering, it's a head-to-head. You're both basically summoners or wizards, and you summon creatures and spells, and you try to kill each
Yeah.
other, right? It
Yeah.
can get a little tumultuous, and has definitely caused some conflicts and between friends, I'm sure, many
Yeah.
times over the years.
Right.
So this idea of a co-op version is actually pretty cool. But that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. That was in the big picture of the cool things you're doing. So before
Yeah.
we jump into our subject even more today, I would love for the audience to get a chance to know you better. So how long have you been in this industry, I guess, and then, what product you're most proud of so far. So,
Yeah, well, so I mean, I've been in the trading card game space ever since I was a kid, right? I was playing Magic, the Gathering when it first came out in the early '90s, and I like many people from the '90s. I got to a certain age, and I realized that okay, I'm too old for this game. So I got out of the game, gave all my cards away because they kind of made their way through various owners probably by now, but got out of the game, and then in the early 2000s, or I'm sorry, mid 2000s, got together with some friends at work, and they were playing some Magic, and I was like, oh, I used to play that, and really kind of got back into it. And so the last was now 10, 15 years I've been, hardcore into, playing Magic the Gathering. And throughout that process, right? I mean, Magic is a trading card game. So one of the biggest things that we do is we trade cards. There's a lot of ways to do that, online. And one of the biggest problems that I ran into was getting my inventory or getting the cards that I owned into some sort of a digital catalog.
yeah.
There's some mobile apps that do it. You sit there, you scan each one, one by one. And some other products have come out, since then to, try to help speed up the process. But, for me, it just kind of wasn't enough. So I actually set out to buy some sort of a machine. I'm like, there has to be something on the market that can create, a digital inventory for me of all my cards, right? And do it for me, like automate it for me, right? And I was looking, and so there are other products out there, but the closest thing that would do what I wanted was something like I think it was like $10,000 for the machine, and
Wow.
like hundreds of dollars in monthly recurring fees, and I'm like, that's insane. I'm like, I don't want to scan my inventory that bad,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's a side thing for me, and I'm like, my wife's not going to approve that for me. I was like, so I'm just like, so I just forgot about it. And then a few weeks later, I'm like, no, there has to be something. So I kept looking, didn't see anything. And I come from a software development background, been building websites since the late 1900s, and risk. I'm sorry, I
that,
had to.
that was amazing.
um, so I've been building websites, ever since I was in high school, and
The dawn
I'm
of
like,
the internet.
I know, right? Yeah, like me and like millions of other kids my age, but I'm like, I could probably make something, and I set out to really just kind of make something for myself, just like with a Raspberry Pi. My son had plenty of Legos around the house, and so I built my first proof of concept based off of cardboard and Lego pieces and a Raspberry Pi, and at that point I was just like, oh, maybe other people could really want this. And that sort of sparked the whole idea of going to a Kickstarter. And I guess here I am almost 3 years later, past Kickstarter, we're in manufacturing, and trying to bring this product really to life for everyone.
And that's an incredible story, right? It's like, yeah, so you used your background and understanding programming, and then just
Mm.
being that like a even light engineering mind, and made a little prototype, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Um, and all because like you didn't want to spend so much time sorting your inventory, basically.
right.
Like,
Manually,
no,
yeah.
yeah. What's at this point, how many times could you have gone through all of your inventory? But there's a light at the end of the tunnel of that. Like now you've created a solution.
Yeah.
I guess this is your first venture into entrepreneurship, right? So,
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a, web and graphic design, company for a
oh,
while, with, she was my then girlfriend, my wife, now, but,
oh, cool.
she's a graphic designer by trade. And so, we just kind of partnered, and, I guess from like, physical product, entrepreneurship, absolutely. Yeah. This is my first, real, like, physical product. It's my first hardware product, first engineering product. I mean, really, a lot of firsts. The only thing that's not a first for me is the software development part behind it,
Right.
which ironically enough, is probably the easier part of this whole project.
Well, for you, because that's where you're most
Yeah,
familiar. But like, I
yeah,
mean, it's probably has the least amount of hard costs to and all that. So yeah,
right.
yeah. That's that's pretty cool, man. I love it. I love it. So like you're on this journey, you built this thing. So you did a Kickstarter, which is like,
Mhm.
everybody's like, yeah, I've got an idea, I'm gonna do a Kickstarter, and then that's where
Yeah,
it all fails. So what do you think that like you did differently? Because like your Kickstarter was wildly successful, and like
yeah,
you're doing it now, like you're in production. So like
yeah.
what do you attribute that to?
Well, yeah, I mean, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, it was wildly successful, more successful than, anything that we could have imagined. And I think that, maybe when you and I first talked, a few weeks back, like to tell you the truth, statistically, we should not have been as successful as we were. I didn't have the email list. I didn't have the followers on social media. I didn't have, an external, company, a marketing agency, helping us get this. I did speak to a company to help us do a lot of the marketing around it, and they wanted me to spend something like $80,000 in advertising just to get to our goal, what our Kickstarter goal was of 300,000. And I was expecting, we'd hit the 300,000. I was hoping to hit the 300,000, of course, but I didn't think that it was going to happen, day one, much less in the first 24 minutes. It blew
Which is
my mind.
incredible.
Right. It blew all of our minds. I'm standing there, just watching this, and it's almost like a dream come true, because it's just like this is actually going to happen. And yeah, you're right. I mean, now we're just in it. And getting to the Kickstarter part of it, like, I wanted to bring something that was for the community, a product that is for the everyday player and collector. And I'm like, the best way I think for me to reach a lot of those people, and like you said, I mean, we have no, like, VC or funding. I did receive a small investment from my mom, who helped out, with which I'm eternally
Beautiful. I love
grateful
it.
for. Right. But no external sources, and it allowed us to get to a point now where we able to reinvest the Kickstarter funds and ultimately build a better product. It's taken a little bit longer than I want, but we're getting there, and we're on track for delivery for later this year. So it's going really well.
Amazing. And even in this world with all this AI and innovation, there are no shortcuts to really doing quality
No,
appropriately, right?
no,
So like if it takes a little more time, great. That just means that launching base of customers is going to be ecstatic when they get it in their hand.
yeah,
And then it's going to grow even more from there, right? Because you already have raving fans that are chopping at the bit for this, that literally is like, take my money, you don't even have a thing yet, right? Like you
right,
can't get a bigger buy-in than that. Like, here's
right,
this idea I'm selling to you, and I've presented it to you in this way that you believe I can do it. And now I've
yeah,
collected all this money and you're delivering. And then when you actually show up with that thing, like this is phase one. This thing goes, parabolic after this in my mind.
right,
So
right,
I think every comic shop in the every shop that sells cards in the country is going to want one of these. It's going to be a standard piece of product. Like
yeah.
there's no way it's not. Like it's so like you made it like at a price point that's like very reasonable for a consumer. So when you talk about a business application, like it's a no brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And everyone's telling me to raise our prices, like you need to raise the price on this. I'm like, I feel like I can't, because like, and like, I'm already having, internal struggles, because on one part, I need to keep the business going. I need to, keep ensure, the
totally.
longevity and stability of the business. And on the other hand, like my entire goal with building the product was to bring something to the everyday player and collector, right? To the people that have been forgotten about for years by all these large corporations, or all these larger machines, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't have an extra, 10, 15, $20,000 laying around to invest in a machine to help facilitate my hobby, right?
Organize your hobbies. Yeah, yeah.
Right,
And
exactly. Like,
most importantly, even if you did, the wife's never signing off on that. Like,
yeah, right,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
so, like, for me, it was important to, bring a solution that was low cost. And that's also one of the reasons why throughout the Kickstarter campaign and through this current period that we're in right now, anyone who supports and backs or purchases the product, they're not going to have to pay any recurring fees for like scanning or to receive really like the core functionality of the product, which is like scanning, sorting, getting like new sets, new trading card games, things like that. So I really want this to just be something that becomes a no-brainer, and makes it accessible and affordable. I've said that a few times, but it's important to me that
It's super important.
people can have this. Because then I start pricing myself out, and then like then everyone's like, well, I can't afford this product, I can't afford this machine. Then it's just like, well, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, stay true to the ethos, man. And it'll always lead you in the right direction. Like you wanted something. The core thing, the reason why this came to be was because you needed something that was feasible for a collector, that was a reasonable price, and you
Yeah,
found a way to get it there. Like that.
yeah,
So yeah, you could charge more, and there's always those like weird things. Like you need to charge enough that like it makes a business and it can pay for the things, and there's room for growth and profit and all that. But
right,
like, yeah, don't like get caught up in like, oh, we could squeeze every penny out of everybody because
right.
that's just like I hate that
It's
stuff.
not
That's
who
what's
I am.
well, it's not
Yeah.
who you are, and it's kind of what's wrong with capitalism, right? Like just because you
Yeah,
can doesn't mean you should, right?
right,
Like
right,
so
exactly.
yeah, or that
And
you
it's
need
crazy because
to. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. Nor that you need to like hey, I'm going through this process right now. I see what this stuff costs.
Right.
I would love to know what is in some of these machines that makes them, able to charge what they do. And look, again, I'm not dogging on anyone, right? There's a lot about these other machines that when it comes to precision and the machining and the software and the technology behind it that I don't know about, right? I just
Sure.
know that for me it was important to be able to release a product that was affordable, small enough to be able to fit on someone's desk, and something that they could put away without it being the size of a kitchen table.
Right.
And I think we've achieved that, and
You
we're
have.
doing that. And I think that once we start showing people like the actual manufactured product, I think that really things are going to go really well. I think ultimately.
It feels like to me, looking at it from the outside and just kind of having the high level of your journey and knowing the team you hired to manufacture this and design it, or the design team at least. Like you'd have to really fuck it up at this point for it not to go well. Like you would
Yeah,
have to go
yeah,
out of your way to do
yeah,
something wrong because it's like you've done all the right things and positioned
yeah,
yourself the right way, and it's a beautiful looking product. And like you said, like the functionality and usability and accessibility are at the core of how you've brought it to market. So you're
yeah,
gonna crush it, man. Like I'm so excited to see this when it comes out. And if I had a giant collection of cards, I would purchase one, but it would really just be like not
yeah.
really used. I intentionally bought the game night thing so that I didn't get in the rabbit hole of like, well, you
Mhm.
build out the decks. It comes with 5 pre-built decks, and like we
Gives you
just
everything. Yep. Yeah.
yeah, we roll to who gets to pick the what deck, and then we
Yeah.
strategize from there, and that works for me for now.
Yeah.
Because I just having two businesses and helping run a nonprofit. My wife has two, but I don't have time to have a
You're
Magic the
busy.
Gathering
Yeah.
collection. Like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
But
I
I'll
did
be
share.
honest. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you good. I got.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say that, I'll be, so I'll echo everything that you said. And I also mentioned, I mean, it also hasn't been, roses and daisies and, strolling through, a prairie. I mean, like we've had our fair share of challenges. When we launched, again, we had a goal of, 300,000 that, we blew past. We were like, I think it was like 2.1, and I think when we ended the campaign, 2.1 million, right?
Incredible.
Significantly higher, right? Which also introduced, us needing to revisit the way that, we're manufacturing and producing and making the product. Our original team that, worked on our first prototype to get us to Kickstarter, the project became too big for them. It's like, they were just, a small shop of, a couple people that, being able to, support a project of this scale was not was not something that they were comfortable with. And and I'm glad that they stepped away when they did, because waiting any longer would have, or trying to like force through a project and something that they weren't comfortable with would have resulted in even more issues.
Of
But
course.
that translated into delays, and us needing to find a new partners, new engineering teams. And I'm really happy with who we are right now. We're working with Beyond Design for our industrial design. You had met with Michael Prince on one of your shows,
Yep.
and we're working with DMC Incorporated, both two firms out of Chicago. And DMC is handling the electronics and the mechatronics of everything. And I couldn't be happier with where we're at. And I think being able to work with teams like that does ensure the future success of the project, because they're invested, in getting the product done. And then they each also, they like, DMC is huge, right? I mean, they work on projects for the government, and with NASA, and like this. I think that this project is something that they're just like, this is a really fun project. So the team over there has just really been kicking it out of the park. Michael and Beyond, I mean, they've got 30 years of experience in industrial design, working with manufacturers, working with factories to bring products to life. And we've got a partner, Product Evolution, out in Utah, that's also helping us with doing the actual liaison with the factories. They've got people that are physically on the ground with the factories, looking at all the designs, looking at everything we're putting together. They're working closely and saying, "Hey, we need you guys to tweak, X, Y, and Z," and then the teams go and do it, and we give them new files. And I mean, it's working. I think that's the best way to put it. It's working, with these partners. But it's been a lot of work, and a lot of people is inevitably people are going to be unhappy with delays. I get that. No one likes delays, but the amount of effort and time that's gone into this, it's like uh, it'll show in the end product, right? And just how people trusted me when because I launched CardMill on Kickstarter. It was me, right? I had a couple people around. My wife handled all of the graphic design work for us, and the our website and the Kickstarter page, and making everything look presentable. And some very close friends of mine, helping with the content and the text and everything. They like putting our name out there. It's like I've got wonderful people surrounding me, but I'm not a huge company, and I'm
Not yet.
building this. Not yet, but we're building this amazing product. And
Yeah.
the thing is too, I haven't taken the paycheck out of this. Like all of the funds that I've been raised on Kickstarter has gone back into engineering and ensuring the longevity of the company. So I'm I don't know. I feel like I can keep going on and on and on, but like we're in a really great place, and I think that the product's going to show that once it gets into people's hands later this year.
I love that. And look, I think as a consumer, I've never, delays happen. There's so much, there's so many unknowns and things that can happen in you're building something from scratch, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
even know what you don't know when you start that. Um, so I think as long as you stay in communication and you're on the up and up on like, hey, this happened and it's got a delay and this, like as long as it's like you're just continuing to reframe and set expectations,
yeah,
I think that's the best you could do. And I think the Kickstarter community at large is aware of what that is and knows that. So it's not
yeah,
like I don't
For the
think you're
most part, they
destroying
are.
any
Yeah.
goodwill. I mean, there's always a
Yeah.
few people that have some other things going on in their life and they're gonna dump all their bullshit on you. But
Yeah.
like, yeah,
And that's
so yeah,
that's okay, right? I mean,
yeah,
if they need a place to vent and let that off, and and I just happen to be that catalyst for them, what? Oh, okay, that's fine
but,
because I
we've
still
all been
believe in
there.
what we're doing.
Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
So
I had to apologize to my doctor like in December. Like there was like a whole bunch of crazy shit going on in the business, and he starts like talking to me all this. I was like, I can't handle any of this today. Actually, I'm gonna need a reschedule for like a month out because like all of
right,
this is pissing
yeah,
me off. But
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, we've all
And
been
that's
there.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's very real. And I mean, it's also like Kickstarter is interesting though, because like Kickstarter as a platform is supposed to be used to bring ideas to life, right?
hmm
And a lot of times, like I think it's hard for people that are newer to Kickstarter to know that like Kickstarter is not like regular retail. It's like you don't go on this Kickstarter is not like a store where you go on, order a product, and then it gets shipped to you, for free the next day. Like we're not, it's not, it's like all these like, little, creators and idea makers trying to bring their vision to life. And a lot of Kickstarters fail. And, the ones that succeed, the majority of them are people that, probably have not been doing a lot of Kickstarters,
yeah, for
and
sure.
like, and people, they're everyday, people that are just trying to have an idea and they're wanting to bring it to life. So it's interesting because it gave me a platform to be able to bring my idea to life, but then and it allowed me to do that without having to get all the investors and everything to bring it to life. But now I also have like 5,000 people that I have to keep happy.
Yes, by
So
yourself, more or less.
right.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, it's all different things, right? Like if you had taken a bunch of investors, they would have forced you to like drive the cost up and make sure like
Yeah.
what and like so like you get to make all those things and stay true to what you were doing, which was cool. And I just did a quick
Yeah.
Google search. Approximately 63% of all Kickstarters fail, and the ones that
Oh,
are
wow.
funded, up to 10% of the ones that are funded never deliver.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so like that's wild.
Yeah.
Interesting to
It's
know.
a
So you
lot.
beat the odds there.
Yeah.
What do you think like really so you blew the roof off, right? Like that's wild. Like you wanted to get 300K and you got 2 point something, 2.1 million, I think you said.
Yeah. Well, we're at
Uh
2.4 now. Because we're still accepting late backers. So like, ever since the campaign ended, we've still been raising funds,
that's
we're still
amazing.
bringing in, um, you know, a good number of backers every week. So
So I mean, you still got some good buzz going, obviously. And but like, what are some of the contributing factors? How did you do this? Like, what?
mhm.
How did you succeed in the putting yourself out there? I assume some level of guerrilla marketing. I doubt you did a big giant ad spend somewhere and
Yeah.
hired a company to make a bajillion-dollar promotional video. Like, how did you do it?
So no, I didn't do any of that. So my wife's a graphic designer, so she created some ads for us and started, with a very low spend. And I ran my advertising ahead of launch, for about 6 weeks. So I didn't announce until about 6 weeks, but throughout that entire 6 weeks that we were running ads, it was important for me to respond to every single comment, every single message, every single question that we would get. We eventually we built a Discord server, and so we were very active in that as well. And I think what really worked for us, I mean, outside of the product, right? I mean, yeah, obviously there's a need for a product, but I think that as well that my engagement and connection with the community is really what helped to cement it because it was important for me for people to know that like I'm not a big corporation. I'm just an everyday player and collector. I wanted people to feel that, right? I
Yep.
wanted to be able to talk to people about, deck building and about their cards. And I wanted to ask them questions. I wanted to be completely transparent because for me, it's like, I'm not hide. There's nothing for me to hide. Like, here's my product. If you have a question, ask me. So I made it a point to respond to like just about every single message that I could the same day that
Wow.
it came through. And that's on social media, it's on the ads. Um, and we're running ads across, meta platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, um, uh, Threads, and then we're also running ads on Reddit and on Google. So we had a lot of different places. Now, luckily, Google, I didn't have to deal with a lot of comments, but from Google, I got a lot of people to my website or onto social media, and so during that 6 week period, there's maybe, and I shit you not, there's maybe about 5 days throughout that entire 6 week period that I went to bed before 2 a.m., like 1:30, 2 a.m.
So
I
you were
was,
all in and still doing your
uh-huh,
day job, I assume,
and
like your
still
nine to
doing my
five.
J job. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I like, I'm doing the job, and then at night, I'm doing, the, feedback and responses and, questions for everyone, manning the Discord server. I was exhausted by the end of
Oh,
it,
I
right?
I bet.
Uh, and then the Kickstarter part of it launched, right? And so now we introduce, all the questions that inevitably come up through the Kickstarter, every single comment, every single message, and that just catapulted us even further. And then our funding kept getting higher and higher and higher, which inevitably brought more and more people, and which introduced more and more questions. So for that, for like 10 weeks, it was just nonstop responding to everyone on a daily, like the day that they would send us a message. Sometimes I didn't get to everyone, right? I mean,
Sure.
but for the most part, I think like a good 97, 98% of responses were made the same day that, people came in. And that's what I think helped
Oh,
because
for sure.
people saw that I was there. We were there. We were communicating with them. We're talking to them, answering their questions. Um, putting out video. I put out a video at one point of me running a Black Lotus through my initial prototype. And for those that don't know, the Black Lotus is one of the most expensive Magic cards
It was
out
like
there.
3 grand last time I looked, or is it more than that now?
No, it's like the one that I ran through. I think it was like around $30,000 for the card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like even in its condition, right? That I ran through, some original duels. And I could be wrong about the price, but I think collectively maybe that along with the duels was around $30,000 worth of cards that were kind of going through it. So it was
Where
insane. Like,
where did you get these cards? Now I'm curious about
yeah.
that. Like,
No, so those were a buddy of mine lent it to me. And yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, looking on here, I think some of these are only I think the one that he had itself was around maybe 20,000 then. I
okay.
forget. I don't know. There's so many different prices. Either way, I mean,
Oh, they're
even the
insane.
$10,000 card is crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't fathom it,
Someone sold an alpha C pristine 10 for 3 million in April
Yeah,
2024 of the Black
yeah,
Lotus.
yeah,
What
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's kind
And
of money that I want one day, you know?
sure, why not?
Yeah, like
Why not?
I mean, what's his name? Post Malone bought a card for $2 million a couple years back.
The
The One
one ring.
Ring. Yeah,
Yep.
the one of the One Ring, right? It was,
Yep.
they and it was great because, not only was that set amazing, but Wizards threw in, that there's just this one card out there, right? I mean, it like people were flooding to
Naturally,
buy it. Yeah,
the one ring. Like you, if you
right.
didn't do that, you missed the mark entirely. Like,
Right, right.
yeah.
Everyone was
And
trying to buy into it. So,
I love
um,
the crossovers they're doing, by the way. Final Fantasy, Magic the Gathering. They just or didn't they just do One Punch or something like that? Some big anime. But
Airbender, the last Airbender.
oh, Airbender. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
and
natural.
that
It's
was a lot of
amazing.
fun. Yeah, yeah, and some of them are great. I mean, some of these, and like there's mixed reviews out there about some of the different sets, and crossovers. And for me, I just feel like, okay, well, if it's not a set that I'm interested in, then I just won't buy into it, and I does it no skin
Duh.
off my back, right?
Right? Like, yeah,
So,
yeah.
we play what we like, but yeah, it's so, but yeah, doing showing that I was part of the community, and like really just one of these people, ultimately, I think is what led to the long-term success of our project. As
So,
outside of that, yeah,
sounds like that 100% is like the thing that brought it all together, right? You guys were there, engaged, really cared, releasing videos, like making sure you replied back to everyone. Which
yeah,
the biggest thing in Kickstarter once someone finds it is like their risk tolerance and like evaluating, like, am I going to invest in this and like not get the
yeah.
product or lose my money or whatever happens there. So that's really I think huge. So it sounds like you ran some ads on all the different platforms, Reddit, Meta, Threads, and you
Mm-hmm.
funneled them basically to your Discord, and then you basically curated a community there and gave them updates and did all the stuff. Like, is that what I'm
Yeah.
gathering?
Yeah, essentially. So like, we've been very active on our Discord server, which has close to around 3,000 people right now on it.
Okay,
And like we have areas in our Discord server that are private only to our Kickstarter backers. So
cool.
they get things like, they can have like sneak peeks at, work that we're doing, different polls, conversations, different channel altogether for them to, mingle in. Um, and then and I actually feel bad. I feel like I need to give the rest of my socials a little bit of love because I really like I logged into it the other day and it's like you haven't posted in 100 days or whatever how long it was. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, maybe I need to do something there. But yeah, we've been super active on Discord because it's much easier to have like that immediate chat, right? I mean, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with AOL chat rooms. Uh,
Same. Extensive
so
time in AOL chat rooms.
yeah, so it's an easy way for us to communicate and talk with our backers, and so we've just kind of focused on that primarily, but I think we're gonna give some of our other socials a little bit more love, coming up here in a little
Yeah,
bit because like yeah. Someone had made a comment, be like, yeah, they haven't posted anything to social media in forever. It's like, well, yeah, because we also don't have time to. We're
yeah,
we're we're trying to build a product, and like it becomes a lot of work to try to manage all this. I what I need is I need like a marketing intern or someone that like can go and like do all that stuff for me. But
and then maybe you might want to slash decide like, hey, I'm going to take 10% of the funding and build a little team now to support the thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like something
yeah,
like that would make sense. I know it feels really good, like, hey, I'm putting 100% of this back into the manufacturing, but at some point, like
yeah,
you've done that, right? Now it's like
yeah,
the things that need support are the customer service or the
right,
the things around the peripheral,
yeah.
because
And
you
we're
can't
budgeted
work
for
yourself
that.
to
Yeah,
death. Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, I can't do it all. My wife can't do it all as much as we want to. No, our budget is set up to bring in additional help later this year once we start delivering the products.
Oh yeah.
For now we're okay, and we've got a close group of friends that are helping, and even on Discord we've got a lot of really like engaged community members that have answered a lot of the questions. We
Like
also
volunteer
use,
mods almost kind of like
yeah,
moderators. Yeah, of
yeah, exactly. And we use technology to make some of that stuff easier for us, right?
course.
If someone posts something about, the backer survey or about a timeline update, based off their keywords, I send them we have a bot that sends them an automatic response, right? In
Yep.
hopes of being able to alleviate, some of the stress or the pain. We've got a very extensive FAQ. So we try to do stuff like that to make our lives a little bit easier. But yeah, we absolutely will be bringing in more team. Once we get past the hump of the manufacturing.
Man, this is got to be just exciting every day, just
Yeah,
building this thing and bringing
yeah.
it to life. Super cool. I am
It's
curious.
really cool to it is really cool to have like an idea and actually see it being coming up, or I'm meeting with the engineers on a weekly basis, sometimes, multiple times throughout the week. On Friday they were showing a video. So we got our circuit board, all of our circuit boards in over the last couple weeks, and they've all checked out and they've integrated them into their prototype and showing hey, this is, the circuit board is connected with our touch screen and it's connected with all the motors, and it's actually, it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. And I'm just watching it and I'm like, oh, holy shit. Like, this is actually going to happen. I mean, I had no doubt, but it's just like seeing it moving, and how fast it's moving, and integrated with our with the AI models to identify the cards. Like, all of it's coming together. It's wild. It really is. It's really exciting to see it happening.
It sounds really exciting, man. I'm just curious from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
Would you be okay sharing what your ad spend budget was in that
Yeah.
6 weeks?
Yeah. So I spent, and actually I was looking at this recently, I spent $28,000 in ad spend.
Okay.
And keep in mind that I was told by, a firm that, does Kickstarter's promotion. I was told that I need like $80,000 to even consider hitting my goal of 300,000. When I'm like, you
Wow.
guys are insane. And they wouldn't even, they're like, well, we can't help you if you're not going to do that. I'm like,
Well,
okay, well, well, bye. I'll do it myself then, you know?
yeah.
And I was nervous about that, but I'm so glad that I did, because that kind of spend on, running, the ads for that would have been insane and unnecessary,
Yeah.
it seems like. Um,
But you
but
could have
yeah,
spent 28 grand
yeah,
and literally it still could have flopped, right? Like there's
yeah,
still like a level of stress. Like I
yeah,
I
yeah,
I, I would have been stressed clicking those budgets and just going, oh, I guess it was work, but it's 6 weeks. Like anyway, so
yeah.
that makes sense.
My bank account was red.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure.
I was negative before all of the funds came in from Kickstarter, and I was nervous. It's
Of
like,
course.
I started my spend. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, okay, I'll do $100 a day, on my ads, across these two or three platforms. I'm like, let's see how it goes. Like, it was a slow trickle, and then got up, and I think my whole goal was to build a mailing list so that I could, let people know. And I was hoping to get, I think it was like around 10,000, people on my mailing list, which I didn't get that. I ended up launching, I think I just had a couple thousand, people, because I figured that, from that, these are warm leads, right? Or interest, right? Because they're actively giving me their email address, and but I had a goal of like 10,000 emails, for the Kickstarter, and the 28,000, we ramped up obviously, because we started at $100 a day, and then we saw there's good momentum, and then we just kind of kept increasing over time.
Dude, I love
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
what a fun risk and reward story of like, man, you went for it. Like how many
yeah,
so obviously that not everyone's in a position to drop, a nice stack of change like that
yeah,
on promoting a thing. But you know, like even having it, like even like, hey, if this fails, like I'll be okay. And then
yeah,
still like you had to work hard for that, and like having that and
yeah,
then going, I'm gonna risk it on this, and like, oh my God, it's
yeah,
like good for
yeah.
you guys, both of you, because obviously like you had to really go, I really think this is gonna work. Like talk about really believing
I
in
know,
yourself. That's
right? Yeah.
incredible. I love it.
Well,
I
I
love it. So
remember I remember at one point I was talking to my wife. I'm just like, hey, I'm like, I want to pull some money out of our home equity line of credit to invest in this. And she's like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I'm
yeah.
like, she's right. And
You know,
I get it, and I had no argument for it. And, my only argument was, well, I really believe in it. And she's more risk adverse than I am, right? But,
sure.
which is also why we work really well, because
You
she's like,
balance.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But, she wasn't comfortable with it. She's like, can we try to find another way? I'm like, okay. And, we did. And I think you asked as well about like, video, hiring, video company. We actually hired a video company, Robo Toaster out of M Hub Chicago that helped us with, putting together our first video. And, they work with startups, and, it was cheaper than, what I thought it would be. That I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it, the first video, but it 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 did the job. It helped to give people, like a real, visual, professional visual. But during that process, I mean, I'm not, made of money, I am, I've been in the tech field, so like, I've had, good paying jobs that have allowed, me to support myself and my family. But, I'm not, sitting on, piles of money. So it was nerve-wracking. It was scary, at times, thinking about investing the kind of money that we did.
I'm
Um,
sure.
so, but yeah,
And
it worked out. So.
no risk, no reward, right? Here you are.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
amazing.
Well, if there was no risk to anything, I feel like everyone would do it. And I actually wish that, more people had the ability to bring their, ideas to life, because,
Of
there's
course.
probably some really great ideas out there that we just haven't seen yet.
I'm sure there is. I showed your page to one of my buddies that owns a comic shop. He's like, man, that's great. And as soon as he wants to make one for comics, I'm all in. Like, so I don't know if you can scale it up to comic format,
Oh,
but
interesting. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, imagine you just have a bunch of cellophane wrapped comics, you just run it through there. Like,
yeah,
who knows?
maybe. Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Some food for thought. So, when you bootstrap this with zero outside investment, aside from like your mom giving you some can-do money, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
So every dollar goes back into the product. Like, how do you decide where to spend when every dollar matters? Like, what's the
yeah.
test for that?
Well, I mean, the right now the money is just going in engineering. And I have had to lock in some orders with manufacturers, to because it's like right now there's some huge volatility in the world economy of
Yeah.
either in shipping and tariffs and gasoline prices, fuel costs, storage, like everything is crazy expensive. So I've to uh, some manufacturers have been like, we will guarantee our price of what it is right now if we can get a deposit now. So I've put some
Uh,
deposits in to
yeah.
set to lock in our prices, and they're like inclusive of shipping and tariffs and everything to the United States.
Wow.
Um,
That's a
you know,
risk for them, like a huge risk. Like, oh,
it's a
wow.
huge right, and it's a huge risk for me too, because to some degree I'm like, I'm not going to have, I'm not going to be placing actual orders for a few months still. Anything can happen between now and then.
Yep.
So there's that. And then but you asked, like, how do I determine where the funds go? It's like I have one goal right now. Right now, my goal is to get all of the products through manufacturing and start delivering the products for the Kickstarter community. And anything that deviates from that is down on the totem pole. It's
Sure.
waiting. So funds are just going to building out the product, getting things locked in, getting people and teams aligned for fulfillment, stuff like that. So, and there's a
What
lot of different aspects of it, but yeah.
what's like the biggest choke point or place that you feel like you haven't figured out yet, or that you're a little leery about as you are moving forward towards, like, you're about to be shipping things, and I assume the next couple
Yeah.
months, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, one of the challenges we're having right now is that so one of the hard parts with Kickstarter is that anyone can order, and pledge and place orders on Kickstarter. But being that we're an electronics product, with software, hardware, electronic components, we said, like, okay, we're going to ship to the United States only for day one, right? Because we're not necessarily certified yet for all like, international electronical standards. We're going to do what we need to do based off the US requirements, but the European Union has their own requirements, Australia, Southeast Asia, they all have their own requirements. And now we're going through the backer kit and people are like, hey, I'm from, such and such country, or, I'm international. Like, I didn't know this. And like, I had reached out to Kickstarter about it and they're like, oh yeah, anyone can pledge. And it's just like, well, why would you do that? Like, why would you let anyone pledge? Even when I said specifically on the products, I'm like, I will only ship this to the United States, right? But it's not very evident, and there's no roadblocks put into the Kickstarter process to stop that stuff. So now we're trying to figure it out, like, okay, can we actually support international, which I eventually want to do, right?
Sure.
But that's something I wasn't planning for and prepared to try to figure out is what do we do with international people, and it's a very small portion of our backers, so it's not the end of the world, but it's still something we have to figure out.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, we pretty much have most of the stuff locked in. The design for manufacturing is working great with our industrial design firm. The electronics manufacturing is going great with our electronics team. We've got boots on the ground in China that's actually working with the factories, talking to them about the stuff we're sending. I guess maybe if I was to pick one thing, I have no idea what's going to happen to fuel costs when we start needing to send stuff. So like someone's like, hey, how much, is shipping going to be? I'm like, well, I could tell you what it is today, but in the fall, I guarantee you it's going to be different. And,
Yeah.
it might be higher. I'm hoping it's not, but we don't know yet. So it's a big unknown.
Yeah, that is the nature of the chaos that we're living through. So it is
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really exciting and it
Yeah.
flew by. So we are coming up on time. But
Yeah.
before we wrap, I do have one last question for you. Is there anyone or anything in your career you'd like to shout out to the audience? Maybe a mentor, a valuable resource, or a favorite client?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to do this, like any of this, without the people in my life that are supporting me, right? My wife has been by far the my biggest champion, my biggest cheerleader. Even though I talked her ear off when I first mentioned it to her, which turned out to be our anniversary, and she's like, "Can we talk about something else?" I'm like, "All right, I'm sorry." Um, but
I've done the same thing too many
yeah,
times.
my wife has done nothing but support my project, support me. She has dove headfirst into the project, and she keeps me in check too. Where she'll turn around and be like, "No, you're not doing that," or "No, you can't do that." And like it's really sexy sometimes, right? Because I'm just
I
like,
love it.
okay.
Like, tell me more
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah. And so yeah, she's I would be remiss if I didn't say that, like, I like she has to be the top person that's really really kind of like helping me own this. She's helping me, helping our the company, helping our project. So yeah, my wife Lindsay is the bomb. Yeah.
I love that. I ask this question at the end of every podcast. So
Okay.
literally the last podcast that I just shot earlier. Um, he said the same thing. Like he's like, and he runs a design studio with 500 employees across the whole world. And he's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, my wife. And what I say to that is like, I've never met a person that's successfully doing anything very remarkable that doesn't have an amazing partner at their side, just
Yeah. Yeah.
just helping them out, keeping them grounded, pumping them up when they need to be,
Yeah.
and all the things. So it's just a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to be in a relationship where, you have that person that's got your back. So,
Yeah. Well, and she's
shout out to
also a
awesome
graphic.
wives.
Yeah, amen to that. And she's also a graphic designer by trade. So, it has helped tremendously and saved a lot of money having a graphic designer, in the house to help with everything cardinal. So, yeah, she's the brains behind all of the creatives. So,
I love it. Well, having graphic design and high end development in house was definitely a
Yeah.
good leg to start on. So
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly.
Awesome, man. We want to give another big shout out to Michael Prince from Beyond Design, who introduced us because
Yeah.
he is working with you and doing the industrial design of your product. So shout out to Michael. He was on a previous episode. You can scroll back. He's a really cool guy as
Yeah.
well. So we've been talking with Jonathan Domanus. You can check him out at cardmill.com. That's CARDMILL.com. But Jonathan, if listeners want to follow up with you directly, where should they go?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, and at the very bottom of our website, there's either links to our social media, or there's also a contact form right there. So I respond to every message that I get. So please reach out if there's any questions. We're also an open book about our product, so happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Awesome. And it is a hell of a product. So can't wait to see what happens when it comes to market. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
stay in touch. So, all right, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you to everyone for coming out and tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.